So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share something that I really believe God led me to earlier this week. I believe it's very, very appropriate and parallels what I believe God really wants us to be doing in this season, and Roy alluded to that in the prayer. This is from Luke 18, verses 1 through 8. One day Jesus taught the apostles to keep praying and never stop and never lose hope. He shared with them this illustration. In a certain town, we'll call that D.C., there was a judge, or we'll call it a team of judges, thick-skinned and godless men and women who have no fear of others' opinions. In the same town, D.C., there was a poor widow. Patriots across the country, especially those standing on Freedom Corner, who kept pleading with the judges, "Grant us justice and protect us from our oppressors." They ignored us and our pleas for quite some time, but we kept asking. Eventually they said to themselves, "This widow, this group of patriots, keeps annoying us, demanding their rights, and we're tired of listening to them. And even though we're not a religious group, and we don't care about the opinions of others, to get them off our backs, we will answer their claims for justice, and we will rule in their favor. Then they will leave us alone." Now I kind of added plurals and made it appropriate to today, but I just felt that this was representative of the group of judges that we are fighting against in D.C. The group of us represented by the widow who needs to keep praying and persevering. And then Jesus continued, "Did you hear what the godless judges said? That they would answer their persistent requests? Don't you know that God, the true judge, will grant justice to all of his chosen ones who cry out to him night and day? He will pour out his Spirit upon them. He will not delay in answering us and give us what we are asking for. God will give swift justice to those who don't give up. So be ever praying, ever expecting," and I'm going to add ever vigilant, ever persevering, in the same way as the widow. "For even so, when the Son of Man comes back, will he find this kind of faith, undying faith on the earth?" I think this is a very, very detailed picture of the persistence and perseverance that God wants us to carry on in and with, continuing to pray for justice for those who are still inside, who are still suffering, who are still coping with all of the unknowns, the injustice, the lies that are being said about them and spread about them, the persecution. I think it's a very detailed picture of how God wants us to respond to this situation today. And so a couple things that I wrote down. The unjust judge represents the team of DC unjust judges that all of our guys are coming up against every day. The widow represents those of us, we the patriots, who are fighting to restore justice and faith and righteousness and truth in our country, specifically standing and supporting the ones who the ones who continue to pay a horrible price for the freedoms that we still now enjoy. As we support, and we are part of this support system, and we are their voice, we must become like the widow, daily persistence. At these unjust judges, till they tire of listening to us, and all they want to do is get us off their backs. So phone calls, emails, letters, every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. And I don't think it really matters if we have anyone specifically coming up in front of any specific judge. I think we just need to hit them as a whole and constantly and persistently continue to badger them. I guess maybe harass them, they would look at it that way, until they just are so fed up that they just don't want anything to do with any of this anymore, and they just rule in our favor just to get us off their back. So we need to bombard these judges daily and bombard them for justice in every case that's brought before them. We must be persistent, we must persevere in doing what we can practically, and continue to pray and cry out to God night and day, because that's His promise. If we continue to cry out night and day about the injustice that we're seeing in our country and toward our fellow citizens and patriots who are still sitting in DC, in the Gulag, and in any other federal or state prison across the country, God says He will pour out His Spirit upon them, those of us who are crying out to Him day and night. And He will not delay in answering us. And He will give us what we ask for. And He will give swift justice to those who do not give up. And I believe, too, that He will pour out swift justice on those who are now perpetrating injustice across the country, but especially in D.C., in the court system there, through the judges, the prosecutors, the juries. And I believe His swift justice is coming to them too.